Okay, there. Here's a little tutorial on just going over the triggers that you need to hit in a library Acrophobia percent, which is where you can fly and everything. This is a little spreadsheet with the names and rough locations. These are first set check every 5 ticks, so they're quite easy to hit. The other ones only check once a second though, which is a little tricky. You kind of have to get lucky with the cycles lining up. I'll go through these. I've got Sapien and Sparkedit here. In Sapien, I've deleted all the triggers except for the relevant ones. So from where you spawn over here, this one in green is the section 2 trigger that we need to hit. So you fly through the wall just around here, and then you have to like kind of go down to stay out of bounds, and then back up again inside the bulkhead on the other side. This one's a little easier to see in Sparkedit here. Only problem is I can't delete all the other triggers, so it's the one in yellow. So you come through the wall, you have to like go underneath. Just in here, you can see this is still out of bounds, whereas this bit is over back in bounds. So you just need to hit a little corner by coming back up a bit after you went under the door. Come through the wall, fly under the door, into the little bulkhead bit, and hit this. And then from there you can fly off to the next trigger, which is up over in this area. This one's a little easier in Sapien. Kinda. I'll switch between both because they both have their advantages and disadvantages. Next one is up. Where am I? Gotta get lost. It's at the top of the first lift. Get there quickly. Now, because we're not going to be hitting the BSP load, this whole first BSP that we're in at the start, let me get a wide shot for you. This is the only geometry that's going to be loaded in the whole level. That's the first BSP, which is the center big tool room and this outside bit here. So we can fly freely basically except when we're very close to the center room. With a couple exceptions, which I'll get to in a bit. Anyway, this is the trigger that we need to hit. And we need to hit it without going back in bounds here because this is still technically loaded up to around over there. So the part of it that sticks out is just a little corner over here. So the way I do is I fly it into the corner and then like, because I'm holding both controller and space, when you let go of space, you'll just stop and be in midair. As I do that, I turn around and start facing the other direction I need to go. Now, next trigger is going to be section 4, door after carrier bump door. Where are we? Door after carrier bump door. So let's go over that last trigger again. It's right in the corner over here. Very small part of it that sticks out. I'm just gonna set up the next BSP just so you can have context of where everything is. So here's carrier bump door. Now, because this whole middle section is still loaded, even when we're in the first BSP, we have to fly under the floor here. However, there's this trigger, full killer 1. There's a tiny little gap between the floor and this trigger. This trigger, if you enter it at all, it will instantly kill you. It checks every single tick. There's a second one of these as well at the next floor above. That one's not as much of an issue. You have to very carefully ride as close to the ground here underneath without going too low into that trigger. Come around the center towards where the door after carrier bump door is, which is right here. The trigger we have to hit is this one, section 4 trigger. Part of it we're going to hit is the part that sticks into this bulkhead here. So coming along the ground, come up, you can see the corner of it that's sticking out. Fly up into this bit, and then turn around with some of our speed. You can kind of like bounce off the door as well here. We can head to the next area we have to head to, which is... Where is the next one we have to head to? Let's check the list. Section 5, top of second elevator. Second elevator, yes, is indeed over that way. So this one's basically the same as the last top of elevator one, except the BSP is not actually going to be loaded at all this time. We don't have to worry about how we hit it at all. The trigger is this one, section 5 trigger. I'll get that up in Sapien. That's the wrong one. Switch BSPs. Just find it real quick. So it's the second floor. It'll be over here. Yeah. So this whole area, the geometry won't be loaded, so you can just fly freely through the void into this one. This one again checks every 5 ticks, so that's quite easy to hit. And it's pretty wide when you've got this much to work with. Alright, next up, section 6, the door after dark door. You have to take a kinda it's not that annoying of a route. Let me load the third BSP just for context. We're over here at the top of the lift after we just hit that trigger. Next spot we have to go to is the door after dark door. So we have to go around the center section here, because in the first BSP that center section will still be loaded. Our goal being to get right over here. It's the door after dark door. On the right, that's the dark door. Anyway, we want to hit the section 6 trigger. Since only this inside geometry is loaded, we can just fly straight through that part of the trigger and up to the next one we have to hit, which is the section 7 trigger. It's the top of the final lift. This one's a little different than the other two because instead of being at the very top part of the platform, it's actually like kind of in the middle of the lift. I'll get this up in Sapien as well. Again, the geometry won't be loaded, so you can kind of like freely hit it, but it's very like thin vertically. Kind of makes it tricky. You gotta aim at the right part of the lift if you want to hit it. Where are we? Where are we? This is still the second lift. I want to be at the third lift. Is everything? Sounds on the center. Third lift will be over this way. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this is the section 7 trigger we have to hit. How do I give context of where it is? It's it's just a little bit below the sort of top of the platform here. Very wide, obviously, and it sticks out of where the actual lift is because it's a square shape, whereas the lift is like a cylinder. But yeah, very thin vertically. Should give you a good idea of roughly where it's positioned. Okay. Now the final set of triggers, 7, 4, 7, 5, 7, 9. These all check once a sec, which makes them a lot of a pain. Right, BSP. So the first one is where you'd usually do a grenade jump in a regular run. Obviously this geometry is not going to be loaded, but this is where you would do that grenade jump into the final set of doors here, where you can do the final FUD bump. Give you a rough idea where it is. This is 7-4. The next one is quite simple. It's just in that room and it's much bigger as well. That's 7-5. And then there's one final one. And in my Acrophobia run I have my PB. This final one I actually stopped for because I always kept missing it in runs. There's this one here, right before the very last door that leads to the finale. I think I flew at this one, like, after I hit this, you can basically just fly diagonally straight at where it is. Through the walls like this until you get to it. And then I stop just for a sec to make sure I hit this trigger because it's once per second it checks. Getting to the outside here is actually a little tricky. I don't remember how I do it in my let me pull up my run. It's been so long since I actually done it. I have to run the fucking cutscene. So here's me hitting 7-9. I stop. Now the door here is actually physical and loaded, so you actually have to go under it. But besides that, it's pretty simple. fly into the ending cutscene.
Oh,
And I think that's about it. Hopefully that helps you out. Yeah, some of these triggers are really tricky to hit. Luckily, these ones check quite often, but these ones are more of a bitch. If you wanted to get Reki, I would, well, unlike my run, I would not slow down for this 7-9 trigger and pray that you somehow hit it. You just, I don't know how, but you'd have to somehow do it. Anyway, hopefully that helps.